Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's January 5th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day and some other things as well sometimes. And
God forbid we discuss things about our lives. Fans hate it.
Yeah, nobody can take it. Yeah. Yesterday was a little bit of an interesting day. I guess, really it was like the night before, where, we got word that the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball might not be quite as full or close to being full as we thought. And, now Mario Cristobal is out looking for a new running backs coach in addition to an offensive coordinator. And, let me just say up front, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's going to be a really, really big hire in this equation. And I think it will allow Mario to kind of assess where he is after he picks his coordinator, maybe even, and approach that hire a little bit differently, maybe, than he had been up front, just assuming that he was bringing his guy from Oregon over to assume that position. So now it's an open landscape. Now he's searching throughout college football for the best running backs coach that he can get. And he can kind of use it as a gap filler in putting together the offensive staff, Matt. So I personally don't think, there's a lot of negatives there at all.
Didn't Don Solinger tell you he wants a job?
He does. It would take about 4 seconds to hire Don Solinger.
I mean, I love Don Solinger. He was the best interview ever. Like, I think we talked about this a long time ago, maybe on this show, but like one of my favorite quotes of all time from any coach was when he was talking about Brian Monroe, and Brian had just had, I guess, a bad game or a couple of games or whatever. And like Solinger's surrounded by reporters, because we used to love like Solinger and Kehoe talk, like everybody like ran to them, no matter whether other people were talking at the same time or not. And somebody asked Solinger, it wasn't me, somebody asked like, what do you think of Brian Monroe? And he says, Brian Monroe? I can get a better puncher if I found a bum off the streets on US 1. And if he said that now, he'd be canceled, because like you can't say something like that nowadays. God forbid you say something like that nowadays. But that's what he said. Like that was his quote. I'm not making that up. Like that's exactly what he said. And all the media who were there at the time, Susan, you, me, we all remembered very well. And like would a coach ever say something like that anymore? Like there were the days Clinton Portis used to predict how many yards he'd get every game. Like, could you ever see a running back at Miami now? Hey, so-and-so, hey, Jalen, how many yards are you going to run for against Florida State this week? 227. Like, that's what Clinton Portis would say to us. Like, those were the days. I want those days. Like, Joel Rodriguez, he would literally, actually, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Joel. It was Chris Myers would hide Joel Rodriguez's pants in the little, like, how at the top of the ceiling, you have these things you can push up. And he would throw Joel's pants in there. And Joel would have to like go back to his dorm room with a towel wrapped around him, or just in his underwear. Couldn't find his pants. Like these are the things we want to hear, and these are the things the players would actually tell us they would do. Like back in those days, you never get those stories anymore. Mario Cristobal
this year with TVD. I mean, TVD kind of came close.
Well, by accident. That was by accident. Like he literally said, "Oops, I didn't mean to say that." Like that's not what I meant. But like, I hope Mario doesn't just bring back the old Miami. That's what I keep saying. Forget the new Miami. It's now TOM, Tom, the old Miami. I hope he brings back the old Miami in terms of winning, but also in terms of let these guys tell us stuff. Like, let this stuff be public. Even the stuff we do find out nowadays is like, oh, don't tell anyone that. Like, there was a player who literally beat up one of the I don't really want to give it away, but he beat up a person, not an administrator, but like somebody who worked on the football field. Like, God forbid we reported that story. Like, no, don't tell anybody about that. Like, God forbid, we'll cut off all your access forever. Like, stuff like this does happen. And, like, you can't say stuff anymore. Like, they freak out if a player – we've actually had SIDs tell us, like, the player wasn't supposed to say that, don't report that. When they literally tell reporters that on the record, don't report that, you can't report that. I mean, it's like it's become like Babysitville. Like, it used to be they could say anything and you could report it. Like, they didn't care. That's the old Miami. That's what I wanted to
Now
be.
they almost don't want you to interview anybody.
They don't. God forbid we interview somebody without somebody babysitting us, talking to them, telling us what we can and can't ask, or they can and can't say. I mean, they literally have training sessions now. They don't let freshmen talk until they're trained what not to say.
That's probably a good thing.
Well, yes and no. You got to trust the reporters' judgments. Like, let them talk to us, Gary. We know what to report, what not to report. Like, let us talk to these guys. What's the big deal? So bring back the old Miami, Mario. Let us talk to everybody on the bench like we used to after practices. Open up every practice so the media can see these guys and put some pressure on these guys to perform so we can say, this guy's not performing, that guy's not performing. You got to step up.
Good luck on that laundry list. I don't see all that happening. But,
it used to be like that.
It did at one point in time. Yeah, there was really no.
When they were great, it was like that.
Everybody was no worse for the wear for sure. But so anyway, so Mario Cristobal gets to kind of adjust a little bit on how he's putting his staff together on the offensive side of the ball, and it'll be interesting to see how that evolves as he picks an offensive coordinator and then tries to find the right complement to that guy to lead the running backs room. Unless he goes with McClendon at running backs, and then he can look for a receivers coach. So he's got some flexibility now on that side of the ball, believe it or not. And we'll see what happens there. All right, Matt, let's get to more directly the news of the day. And let me start with our new Why at the U topic for today.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Yeah, well, yesterday's was, man, I don't know if you saw it elicited quite a bit of comments and posts on the message board. And that, of course, was when we had our debate about whether Miami can win 10 games next year. Probably a little prematurely, but there were so many questions along those lines. We figured, what the heck? And we threw it out there for conversation. Well, today we are talking about whether the Canes should take 7 transfers or more. Don't ask me how we came up with the number 7. I let Matt do that.
Seriously, Gary? No, there is a reason.
I would have picked 10, quite frankly.
Oh, my God.
I would have
picked
10. I think the reason. 10, probably more.
Oh, but Gary, hold on. You do know the reason. The reason is you get 7 freebies. That's the reason we said 7.
Okay.
And then in the article, literally, we wrote they probably need more than 7. But we said, here's your 7. And then we said, here's a few more you can take on top of it. But keep in mind, those are going to count against the 25 from next year because, depending on what happens.
Build up the roster, win now, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I get it, but I'm saying that's where the number 7 comes from. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like 7 is because they're freebies. You got to take 7. Like 7, if you take less than 7, it's what's the word you use for when we Blake James? It's not incompetence. You said it's gross negligence. It's gross negligence if they don't take at least 7 transfers.
Athletic director malpractice.
Yeah, there you go. It would be coaching malpractice. They got to take 7 because they're free.
Coach malpractice if they don't take more than 7 transfers. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think they're going to have 7 transfers in a few more days, quite frankly. I'm expecting at least 10 or more in this class here in the next few weeks. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think the roster needs fortification. I think there's going to be guys that are going to need to move out. Dead weight is not going to go over very well with Mario Cristobal. And he loves to make all his spots count. And I think you're going to see some roster upheaval. That's really why, Matt, our debate yesterday about whether the team can win 10 games was kind of premature. Let's be honest. We had fun with it. I think the fans had fun with it, but it was premature because we have no clue what this roster is going to even look like in August. I think it's going to look very different.
Okay, so here's the caveat. Caveat. Yes. Here's the caveat. Like, you're all in, take 20 transfers. It was up to you. You take 20 transfers. Oh, my God.
No.
Why wouldn't you take 20, Gary? Why not 20?
Well, because they already have 8 signees. So isn't there
Well, you could take 32.
You're saying based on the numbers, and I haven't done the numbers.
You can take 32 nowadays because you have 25 plus 7 free transfers. And guess what? You can take more than 32 if you want to count your transfers ahead.
Take 20 transfers.
Okay, you would take 20 transfers. Here's the problem, okay? Every transfer over the number 7, okay, will count against your 25 cap, okay? You have 25, that's great. Now, you have plenty of room.
You have 8 signees, 7.
Correct, you have plenty of room.
15, that gives you room for 10 more.
Correct, so you have plenty of room in the 25. Take your 20 transfers.
You can take 17.
You take 17 transfers, you'll take, what's 32 minus? You take 15 freshmen. You load up, man. Load up, win now, load up. Here's the problem. When it comes to next year's 2023 class and the 2024 class, which those are the classes to me that are going to make this a championship class, a championship team, or spell the end of Mario Cristobal's tenure, because those two classes are going to be the nucleus of what he's going to build at Miami. And those two classes in 2023 and 2024 will be the classes in 5 years from now that will either be winning championships or losing games to North Carolina and Virginia Tech. That's it. That's the truth. That's what I always speak. I speak the truth. Gary speaks nonsense. I'm just kidding. But that's the truth. So now listen. You took your 20 transfers. Unless they're all graduate seniors, okay, they're still going to be on the roster a year from now. And now you're taking away numbers from your 2023 class.
I think you can assume that most of them will be 1 year.
Your New Year resolution was not to interrupt me.
I know, but I think you can assume that most of them will be 1 year.
What?
You know, not all of them, obviously, but at least half of them will probably be 1 year guys.
Okay, well, every one you're taking that's over the number 7, quite honestly, this is just the truth. You know, I know you think you can jettison half the roster. Guys are going to leave in droves because they're not going to be able to handle the workouts. I don't agree with that. I think this roster is so young and so talented that you don't want to drive off these freshmen and redshirt freshmen right now, which make up 40 or 50 players at last.
I didn't say that class. I said there's probably going to be. I think I could go down the roster and probably isolate about 12 to 15 guys. They're not going to. They're not going to ever make it.
Now you're making me go to the actual numbers, because that'll make more sense to people want to get this.
I just don't think they're ever going to make it. You could go ahead and do the numbers.
It's fine with me. Here's the numbers. Okay, right now, there's going to be 27 freshmen / redshirt freshmen on the roster, and there's going to be another 32 guys that are sophomores, qualify as sophomores. And we're talking about guys like the sophomores, like Peyton Matocha is going to go. Okay, so he's gone. But then you got Tyler Van Dyke, Cody Brown, Jalen Knighton, Thaddeus Frank. These guys aren't going anywhere. Rashard Smith, Romello Brinson's not going anywhere. Xavier Restrepo's not going anywhere. Jacoby George's not going anywhere. Keyshawn Smith's not going anywhere. Larry Hodges, you can jettison. Now you're at 2. Elijah Arroyo's not going anywhere. Adam Elgamlo, you can jettison. That's 3. Defense. Jafari Harvey's not going anywhere. LT's not going anywhere. Harrison Hunt's not going anywhere. Chance Williams not going anywhere. Elijah Roberts not going anywhere. Maybe Huff will go. That'll give you 4. Austin Cave, I still think you keep. I think you got to keep. Maybe Sam Brooks goes, but if he's healthy, he's good enough to keep. Tyler Johnson, you keep. Flagg, you keep. Troutman, you keep. Chase Smith, you keep. Kinchins, obviously, you keep. Marcus Clark, you have to keep. Dunson, you probably have to keep. James Williams, obviously, you keep. Malik Curtis, you keep. Avante Williams, you keep. That's 4 guys you can get rid of. Okay.
No, you missed guys. There's more than 4.
I named every sophomore. I'm not naming the freshman because the freshmen you're going to keep anyway.
Okay. But there's more. There's some older guys and stuff.
Yeah, the older guys. I'm not talking about the older guys, Gary. I'm talking about the freshmen and sophomore. The basis of the
fair enough. That's so 5 of those first 2 classes.
Let me finish. That's 59. That's 59. Your limit's 85. You're talking about bringing in 20 transfers plus 15 freshmen. You're already trying to. You got to get rid of every older player that's not a freshman or sophomore. And some of the guys I just mentioned, because there's only 4 that I just mentioned that you get rid of.
If you get 7,
where are you making up numbers from? You can't do it. It doesn't work.
Well, if you get 7 freebies, you can do 32, right? Theoretically.
But who to get rid of? This is what I'm trying to explain to you, Gary, and fans don't understand it either.
You only went through 2 classes there.
Forget the 32. The number you got to worry about is 85. You can't have more than 85. And I just told you got 50 guys you got to keep. How are you going to get 2 classes in 2022 and 2023 to fit?
You worry about that later. You worry about it later. Right now, you're worried about this.
Worry about it later. You got to plan in advance. These coaches don't look at 1 year. Let's just do this now. No, this is a plan.
Right now, to get this program right, you got to focus on the present future. You got to get this roster competitive.
No. They need to take 32 in the class of 2023 because that's when Mario's had a full year to recruit. Don't rush and try to make the roster better with guys that are like, okay, so, not great.
So when you win 8 games next year and everyone's saying, what the hell did we change coaches for? What are you saying then?
He needs a plan, and I'm sure he has one. And the plan can't be fill up the roster with transfers right now and screw the 2023.
Better than what you have, it can be. If they're better than what you're playing with.
You don't know. Because when you take a recruit, you don't know what he's going to be in 3 or 4 years. You hope you know. You can't, like we talked about yesterday, you can't miss.
No, but if you
on
take a
10 guys, you can miss on 10 guys out of 25, but you can't miss on 20 guys out of 25. So,
but if you take a transfer, you better know.
If you're taking a transfer,
the job is to evaluate.
If he's
evaluate the talent. I know that's a foreign that's a foreign subject here because there hasn't been a whole lot of it going on the past several years. But you evaluate. You don't just take anybody. You're supposed to evaluate.
They're at 59 freshmen and sophomores right now. You can eliminate 4. We just decided that's 55. They're going to sign another probably 5 freshmen in this class. Now you're at 60. So you got 25 kids left total that are going to be juniors and seniors moving on the next 2 years that you know will be moving on. These aren't kids you want to get rid of right away anyway, some of the juniors. And now you're trying to fit in those 25 spots a bunch of transfers, a bunch of 2023 kids, and a bunch of 2024 kids. You've got to save the room. So I agree. You've got to bring in 1-year transfers, period. And I don't want you signing guys that you don't need. So sign your 7 that are freebies.
You can bring in a few multi-year transfers if they're good players, like the kids from Oregon.
Yes and no, but again, well, listen, you can. But all I'm saying is they're costing a spot in 2023. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. You bring in anything over 7 transfers this year that you're not going to jettison, you're costing a spot on the 85, not the 32, on the 85. You're costing a spot in 2023 and or 2024. It's just math. It's just math. And hopefully I've explained it well. It is confusing.
You have not. Everybody's confused as hell. But it's a good topic for everybody to debate today is the bottom line. We'll set up a thread on this one on the message boards at CaneSport.com for you guys to chop it up on this subject. But the bottom line is, should Miami take more than 7 transfers this year? In my opinion, absolutely. Matt, I got to believe you agree with that.
If they're 1-year transfers, yes. If not, no, because you can't mortgage the future against this single year where we know they're going to be okay and pretty good, but not great. I'm looking to win national championships, Gary, with Mario Cristobal. They're not paying these guys all this money to win the ACC Coastal this year. I don't care. I want them winning national championships.
They're not paying them money to lose the ACC Coastal this year.
Listen, if they're not I agree. But if they're not looking to win a national championship,
I'll tell you that is Mario, by the way.
Okay, Gary. First of all, what's your formula for winning a national championship in 4 years? Is it bringing a lot of transfers in this year? Is that your answer? Because no, that's killing
one player at a time every single day. That's my formula. One player at a time. Keep improving the roster. Make sure your evaluations are top shelf, which is where, in my opinion, a pro scouting department could come in handy. And just keep chipping away at it until you've got your roster right. I don't care if I don't know if it'll take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Who the hell knows? Normally, I would say 3, Matt. But with this transfer portal and the way it is, I think it can happen as soon as 2. Look at the jump that Michigan State took this year. And I know they fizzled out at the end. No surprise.
I agree. It can happen. But if you're looking for a real championship program, you build it in recruiting, not the portal. I'm sorry. You have to do both. You can't just say, okay, portal every year. There's no way. And let me ask you something.
If you had this conversation with Mario Cristobal, I think he would agree with you. I think he would tell you that's the way that he's always approached it. I think that now that he's here at Miami and the portal is becoming a major player here right now this month, I think he would be more flexible in that thought. I think the portal is free agency on steroids, which it is. I mean, you've got franchise quarterbacks going into the portal because they think that they can put themselves on the open market for NIL deals, and they're going to be successful doing it. That kid, Caleb Williams, Matt, is going to get $2 million. You watch. Okay,
but listen, why rush to kill your 2023, 2024 numbers when you're on the job for a month? When there's a great recruiting staff, let me talk. They're going to kill us.
I thought you were asking me the question. No, coaches know they got to win right now. There's not one fan watching this show right this minute that doesn't think, I want Miami to win now. Nobody's saying, oh, geez, maybe in 2025 we can maybe win 10 games. Or no, man, they want to win now. Worry about next year.
You obviously don't understand what a rhetorical question is, but put up this poll. Would you rather win the ACC Coastal this year or a national championship in 4 years? I think I know the answer, and I'm looking for 4 years from now to win a national championship. Now, let me talk. If you want to
I'm just getting ready to write that down, except for one thing. Why does everybody think, including you, that you can't walk and chew gum?
You can, but I'm talking about your numbers. Because you're mortgaging
national title in 2024.
Oh my God! Because you don't listen. Because you're mortgaging the future classes in 2023 and 2024 by taking transfers now. They can still win now. They can win now without. They can win now without transfers. Is what I'm trying to tell you, Gary. They could take 7 key transfers and win the Coastal. It's not going to be that hard. That's walking and chewing gum because you're still saving your future numbers. Anyway, listen. Here's my horrible analogy for you. and this is not rhetorical. You don't have to answer the question. There's no question. If you're planning to go to
analogy, I hate when you do analogies.
Yeah, that's why I do them, just to annoy you. Have you gone to Per Se in New York? Probably not. I wouldn't have gone either, except my in-laws paid. It's $500 a plate, okay? It was for their anniversary, and we went. But if I wanted to go to Per Se, I would probably have a plan. I'd say, listen, we're not going to eat out. I'd say to my wife, we're not going to eat out for 2 months, okay? And we're going to take the family to Per Se. That's your plan. You have a certain number, and you realize how you have to get to that number in the end to have the national championship of theaters.
What's Per Se?
It's a restaurant in New York overlooking the park. It's the top.
Per Se.
It was the top. PER space SE, Per Se. It's a Latin word. It means through something, I guess.
Well, if I ever get to go to New York again, I'll remember that.
All right, I'll expect a pay cut. So anyway, so the point is, you have to figure out your numbers so that you have the money to go to Per Se for your family of 4 or 8 or whatever the hell you are. You don't just say, I'm going to dinner tonight. I'm going to dinner tomorrow night. I want to have dinner the next night. I want a hamburger. I want steak. Da, 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 da. No, you have a plan. Mario has a plan. He has the numbers that he needs to get to to reach the end goal. And those numbers are based on 85, not based on 25 and 32 like it was in the old days. COVID numbers have ruined that for now. And by you saying bring 20 transfers and 15 freshmen, you've got nothing left for 2023. You just don't. You're not going to jettison 20 brand new players for taking guys the following cycle. It's just
that's an exaggeration. I know we're kidding around with numbers. I mean, they're not going to bring in 35 players.
Right, but when you say it, but when you take them to extreme, you can see why
they're sitting at 8 right now. I think they'll get another maybe 6 freshmen and maybe 10 transfers. That'll take them to 24, 25. I think that's where they'll end up. That's, we'll see. But I like what I'm seeing is the bottom line. I like that they're active in the portal. I think that they're going to find some good players in the portal. The staff's not even in place yet. Recruiting, this has all been pretty much a Mario Cristobal, Alex Mirabal show. Just amazing to watch. Which, Matt, I might as well use that as a segue into a couple other stories of the day, because of course it's a new day and we have recruiting stories, and that means Alex Mirabal is in the middle of the action. What a surprise, everybody, right? The one-man wrecking crew. He's 5'5", okay, and he's like a bowling ball, man. It's like, I don't even know I assume he went through HR because he's been recruiting for 2 weeks. But this guy is like amazing. I mean, like he is like a mini Mario in a sense. They joke that they're like Batman and Robin. They really are almost like the same human being. I mean, Mirabal wakes up recruiting and he goes to sleep recruiting. And today we have a story about a breakfast FaceTime with Alex Mirabal. And I think it was last week, we had a story about a midnight FaceTime with Alex Mirabal. So you kind of getting a feel for the way this guy recruits and how relentless he is and how he does it around the clock. So his breakfast FaceTime was with a offensive line prospect out of Alpharetta, Georgia, by the name of Shamarad Umarov.
You said his name correctly. Well done.
Shamarad Umarov. And all you got to do is hear the name to
name.
Understand this kid is boom.
You knew that kid's an offensive lineman right when you hear the name.
No doubt. It was kind of like Shirko Haja Razui back in the day.
Yeah, his given name, by the way, is Joe Smith, but he changed it, so it works better this way.
But so Shamarad is he wakes up and his mom gets this text. I don't want to give it all away. I want you to read the story. It's an amazing story. It's a great story. But essentially, his mom gets a text from Alex Mirabal to have the kid FaceTime him when he wakes up or whatever. And that over breakfast, I guess, eggs and orange juice or whatever, they ended up having a FaceTime. So make sure you check out that story today. It's a real good one. And then another story with Mirabal recruiting a 2023 kid out of Columbus, Georgia, Kelton Smith, another one of those big 300-pound offensive linemen that's a high school junior that, again, and Matt, something else I know you don't agree with me on, but this offensive line is going to get bigger and more physical, and they're going to try to develop maulers. And the skinny legs and the skinny arms. And taking 180-pound guys and trying to turn them into 300-pounders. That's gone, folks. they're recruiting 300-pounders now and guys that they think they can turn into monsters. So whole new ball game and recruiting on the offensive line, whether Matt likes it or not. And
what are you even talking about?
Who refreshed yourself the last time? You said you like.
God.
You can refer. You could talk about what terminology you use. You said you like your guys lean and thin.
I mean, do you want Larry David on your offensive line? Probably not. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I want big, agile offensive line. The word you're missing is agile. I don't want the big bruisers with 3 yards and a cloud of dust. I want the guys who can pull in guards, athletic long tackles with long arms. I'm not as big on the giant part of it. Like, I'm fine with an Eric Winston type, where he came into Miami as a tight end. What I was saying to you is I want a basketball player, soccer player who played tight end, grew up playing running back, and now he's a 6'6". He could be 280, 270 to start with, whatever. Like, I don't care, but I want that. I don't want the 6'6", 340-pound guy who can't move. I'm sorry. You say big physical, I say big and agile. That's the only difference. I don't want weak and puny. Weak and puny is not what I said.
I can't say I've yet watched film on all of these like 2025 offensive linemen that Alex Mirabal has offered in his first week or two on the job. But I'm assuming that they're looking for guys that can do both, that can move, that are big, strong, and also can move.
By the way,
that they can develop. But,
I know you hate these stories, but I got to tell an Eric Winston story. Since I have not mentioned his name in Good Morning CaneSport ever, but this kid in high school was one of the most insane stories I've ever heard in my life. For fans, I don't think we ever reported this back in the day because it wasn't appropriate and he asked us not to. But now we can say it. I mean, the kid's been successful as hell. So, like, his stepdad wanted him to go to Texas A&M and was getting paid off by Texas A&M. And Eric decided he wanted to go to Miami.
Remember this.
And he committed to Miami. The stepdad kicked Eric out of the house when he committed to Miami. Eric had to live the rest of his senior year with a friend until he enrolled at Miami. That's how bad Eric Winston wanted to be a Hurricane. That's what we need recruits to want to be at Miami, that their parents could kick them out of the house. They don't care. They're going to Miami. That's what we need. So, and then the funny thing is, we knew that. We never reported it. But, like, when Eric got down to Miami, like, he was a shy kid. Obviously, it wasn't the best upbringing situation for him. And, like, the first time they tossed him in front of reporters, I think it was his sophomore year, and there was, like, a gang of us. And, like, what you do, you hold up your microphone in those days, right? I can't do it in the camera, but you hold up the guy's face like this. This is what you do because you want to get good audio on your microphone so you can transcribe it and write the story. And so we were all holding up his face. He literally, I've never seen this. He's 6'6", 285 pounds, whatever. He backpedaled the entire interview across Green Tree because he was like scared. He was like scared of the microphone. He was like literally, and we would keep following with the microphones, trying to keep him near his mouth. And he kept backing, going. He was backtracking the entire interview. It was the funniest thing. I've never seen anyone else ever do that. I don't know if he thought we were going to smash him in the face with our microphones or if he was just like a little trepidatious is a nice word to use. But that was the funniest thing I ever saw. So that's my Eric Winston. I'm sorry for the diatribes. I know fans hate it. Some fans hate it when we don't talk about what's going on right now. Sorry to you guys. You fast forward from the 24-minute mark. Oh, it's too late now. You should have fast forwarded from the 24-minute mark to the 28-minute mark. You got screwed. I apologize. You can complain on the YouTube messages where everyone says how I'm negative and tell horrible stories. Go at it. Have fun.
All right. Also today, we've got a recruiting story on Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown is the wide receiver from Miami Gulliver, who's going to be in the next class, 2023 class. Kid's phenomenal. Just reminds me a little bit, Matt, of Amon Richards kind of coming out of high school. He's very smooth, runs, just looks very smooth out there, runs good routes. And the good thing for Miami is it sounds like there's a pretty darn good chance he wants to stay home. He'll be a huge priority in 2023. We give you an update on Jaylen Brown. And then last but not least today, and I want to talk about this for a minute before we go, Matt. The Miami basketball team, everybody. It's time to jump on the bandwagon. I've been on this train for about a month now, and I kept telling you, Miami basketball is going to be better. Miami basketball is going to be better. They're going to.
By the way, kudos to you because you kept saying how great they were going to be, and I kept saying I'll see it when I believe it. And they look pretty good. They do.
I felt that they would be significantly better.
They still have to play with Duke. They have to play with FSU's not that great.
But we got a whole ACC, of course.
So they've got 4 games in the next 6, I want to say, against those 3 teams. So that's going to be interesting.
No, I mean, it's going to be interesting, no doubt. But the point is that Jim Larinaga did a nice job basically rescuing his program from the abyss, so to speak. I mean, they were in trouble. Guys were leaving. He went out, got himself a couple really good transfers. Charlie Miller, Jordan Miller, and Charlie. Wait, Charlie. Did I just
Charlie Moore? I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. I was letting you go on your diatribe. I was paying Charlie Moore and Jordan Miller.
Charlie Moore and Jordan Miller, and these two guys have just kind of really stepped up their game here the last couple of weeks and have helped combined with elite play from McGusty and Wong, and they're in first place in the ACC, Matt. And I think you just kind of alluded to the fact that you never would have seen it at the beginning of the season. And I'll admit, I didn't know that they were going to get the first place in the ACC early in the season, but they've really been playing pretty well lately.
Yeah, what really has surprised me is when the season began, like Charlie Moore and Jordan Miller just didn't seem to fit. And at one point, I think they were even weren't playing that many minutes, and they were just Jordan Miller was struggling with his shooting. Charlie Moore was turning the ball over more than he was having assists. And when those two guys seemed to finally understand what they needed to do offensively, because the defense is awful, okay? But when they finally understood what they needed to do offensively, Charlie Moore, to me, is better than Chris likes. He's not a guy that's going to be flashy like Chris or score like Chris, but he's a guy who has that attitude of, I'm going to help my teammates. I'm going to share the ball, which is what Chris didn't have, which is really why he wasn't almost invited back when he asked about coming back. So that's huge because you don't see that in college basketball anywhere anymore. Everyone's me. I want to make it to the NBA. I got to score 20 points and get my 8 assists or 20 points and get my 10 rebounds. Charlie Moore is an exception to the rule. I love that kid simply for the fact that you don't see team players anymore. For those of you that heard, there's a young tight end who used to play basketball. You remember him, Gary? He's a little red-haired guy. He played for the Saints for a little while and the Bears for a while. You know who I'm talking about?
Jimmy Graham?
Oh, yeah, Jimmy Graham. Remember him? He's like that. When Jimmy Graham played basketball, he did everything except score and get rebounds. He dove like crazy for balls. He got rebounds like he would just hold his ground or whatever. He just wanted to win. And that's what Charlie Moore is. Charlie Moore is a smaller point guardy version of a power forward that Jimmy Graham was in basketball. And for those of you that got the pleasure of watching Jimmy Graham play basketball, I mean, he was fun to watch. His box score was never great, and neither is Charlie Moore's. Charlie Moore is going to be an 8.4 assist guy, but you don't see the attitude he brings, the leadership he brings, the presence he has on the floor, and he's helped Jordan Miller tremendously. Jordan Miller, I think, without Charlie Moore, would still be struggling mightily. And it's great that Cam McGusty is having an all-ACC year. It's made it less important that Isaiah Wong has looked average at times. But that's 4 guys. Like I said at the beginning, when I was criticizing the basketball team, I said they only got 2 guys. You need 3. Charlie Moore and Jordan Miller together are that 3rd guy. Mm-hmm. So they've got 3 guys. To me, they got 3 studs that they need. I think they can go pretty far. I think they are an NCAA tournament team, like you said in your column yesterday. I don't think they're going to be in the top 3 in the ACC, but I think they could be 4th, 5th, maybe in the 4th to 6th range in the ACC, which is good enough to get into the tournament. Yeah. And it's a building block.
Yeah, no doubt. I was curious. I looked up what Chris Likes has been doing at Arkansas, and he's starting. He's playing 25 minutes a game. He's averaging just under 13 points a game, shooting 32.7% from 3, 88% at the free throw line. So he's having a decent season.
He's always had good stat lines. He's never had a problem with stat lines, Gary. That's not Chris Likes' issue.
Yeah. But they're winning too, Matt. I mean, they're 10-3 at Arkansas.
They got studs on that team, of course.
Yeah. So it's turned out well for both. Is my point. Miami's better with Charlie Moore, and Arkansas's got what it's looking for from Chris Likes. Yeah. All right, so that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. A lot for you guys to dive into on the website. We're going to set up that poll and see what you think about the transfers on the message boards at CaneSport.com. And we'll be back tomorrow with, I'm sure, a whole new portfolio of content for me to.
By the way, can I have one parting little story? Nobody's watching anymore anyway. You remember the Jimmy Graham that came to Miami? What he told us, which nobody really talks about anymore. But remember, he grew up he got dropped off by his mom at a what's it called? Not a halfway house. What's that? At a foster
home. Yeah, he had a tough
foster
childhood.
home. It was a facility, and he said he got beat up every day, and that's what turned him into such a mentally strong and just willing to be the hard worker to do whatever it took. Like that's what he credited, was his mom just leaving him and never really hearing from her again until years later, and getting beat up every day. Like somehow he turned that into a positive, which is an amazing story. And I'm glad none of you are still watching, so you don't have to hear my Jimmy Graham story. You all hate the stories. That's why I waited till the very end when everyone already saw you sign off, and that's it. We're done.
Truthfully, that was
sign off again.
That was one of the better ones, so we'll give you a pass on that.
All right. Have a great morning, everybody. Thanks for watching Good Morning CaneSport. Tune in again tomorrow. Now you don't have to say it. I did it for you.
Bye, everybody.